Michael. I work at Runtastic. Nice of Marco to let me have a talk here. Yeah, I work at Runtastic, and Ember loves Runtastic. So, and we are actually having we are having a big application online, multiple Ember apps since 1.5 years. So yeah, I'm going to talk about that. Actually, I'm going to talk about 3 topics. The first one will be how to get Ember into your company. If you don't have Ember already, then how to integrate it into an existing application as we did, and the lessons learned we had in the last 1.5 years. The first part, sneaking in Ember. And the most important thing, don't tell your boss. And it's not actually meant to be funny, because nobody cares. If you tell your boss too much about Ember, he will get the notion that you have to throw all away the code you have already, and the only way to do an Ember application would be that to have a single-page application, and you have to throw away everything. And that's not the case. So you shouldn't talk too much about Ember. Just use it. That's the approach I took, and everybody's happy at Runtastic with this. And to be honest, you'll need a framework anyway. You can build it yourself, or you can use Angular or something like that. But if you're doing complex client-side applications, you'll need a framework. And yeah, of course, our job as developers is and the responsibility is that we have to use the best tools to get the job done in an effective way. So yeah, we have to use Ember. Yeah, the framework part, if your boss is not satisfied with that you just take Ember and use it. Here are some arguments why we're using a framework like Ember. We're building an application, and even if we didn't think of ourselves that we're building an application, our product manager would definitely want us to build an application, a complex application that is able to compete with native mobile. And as Runtastic, we're pretty famous for our mobile apps. So we really want to have a competitive solution on the web. Also, we're working in a team, so that's where convention over configuration shines a lot. We're growing pretty fast, so we have to make sure that new members get into the code fast and are able to contribute fast in a meaningful manner. So we really want to have conventions over configuration, and that's one of the biggest selling points for me in Ember, that we have convention over configuration. If you're doing something wrong, the framework tells you that you're doing something wrong, because it gets pretty messy, and so how did we integrate Ember.js into our web platform at runtastic.com? This is our first Ember application we did. Everything in the red is the Ember application. We're just plain simply we are using root element for this. Everything not in the red is the Rails is our Rails front end. We're using root element, and the Ember app boots inside a div we have on the page, and everything's fine. So we can do all the fine Ember stuff in that. That works pretty well, and we're using this for every feature every big feature that we're using Ember on. That's another Ember application of ours. That's the application where you are able to track the body measurements, because we're also selling hardware at Runtastic. We recently launched a scale where you can track your body measurements, and that's the corresponding Ember application for that. That's also the root element approach, but what I wanted to show you in this application are all the things in the red are actually components, and we could use all these components outside of a big Ember application. We could pass plain POJOs into these components, and we could use them outside of a big Ember application. I don't think many people are going this approach. You have to have an Ember app on your page to do this. and you have to render the components inside the Ember app, but you don't have to have a big app around them. So if our product manager comes to me and says, yeah, we need a super interactive widget, we will develop this with Ember, and we're gonna use this approach. Just develop a component and put a small Ember application in the page and render the component inside of it. This also works pretty well for us. And of course, if you're really focusing on components, you can reuse them in other features, which is pretty great. And yeah, we just actually on the new stuff we don't develop views. We are just developing components, and I think that's that's also the approach Tilde is using for Skylight. I saw a talk about that recently, yeah, and it works pretty well for them, and it works pretty well for us. Now to the last part of my presentation, the lessons learned. What do we have learned in the past 1.5 years using Ember in production? The first important thing is read the manual. Today the guides are really, really good. The API docs are great, and if something's not in the guides, you can go to the API docs. If you don't find something in the if you don't find the thing you're looking for in the API docs, you can always read the source. And please, if you find something that's not documented in the API docs, just contribute and patch the documentation and contribute back to the framework, because it's a great framework and it's getting better with every contributor. Yeah. I don't get the people that say, yeah, it's so extremely hard to get started with Ember because you have the guides, you have the API docs and the source. So I don't think that starting out with Ember is really a big problem. And I guess it's the best documented framework in this space. Yeah. Another pro tip, so to say, if you have an Ember app in production, and you just check the GitHub issues of Ember.js regularly, not because everything's changing and you'll break your app if you don't. That's not the case. It's actually really, really stable. Not actually pretty stable. It's just stable since 1.0. And but you should keep up to date for upcoming improvements. For example, the array reduce computed changes were pretty significant for us. And if I hadn't checked the GitHub issues, I wouldn't have known of them until they're in the API docs. And yeah, that would have taken some time. So just regularly, on a weekly basis, check the GitHub issues, scan through them, and take the most important stuff. You don't have to change your code, but it's really good if you're just keeping up to date. Another big topic, and I talked to Marco about this today. We took the approach, and this was pre nice router implementation. We were developing a feature, our track search feature I showed you in the red square. That was our first Ember application, and we developed it. And then we did a Ember feature that's where you're able to monitor your heart rates you're checking with Runtastic. And we took the approach that we had the route search, also the track search, in one Ember app and the heart rate application in another Ember app, because there were different versions of the framework and stuff. So we thought that was a good idea. It actually wasn't. You shouldn't take this approach. It's hard to maintain, and it's really hard to share functionality. Not because you can't share components. Of course, there were no components where we did this, but you could share components over different Ember applications. But if you're doing something with that bubbles from controllers and routes, something like modal handling or something like that, it's hard. You have to implement this behavior in multiple apps. In the worst case scenario, you have an app that has the old router implementation and the new router implementation. Just put all your functionality if you're developing towards a single-page application, just put everything in one app, and use the router, put them on different pages as we do, and use the router to boot them up in the right state, depending on external factors like something. You can always check when an Ember app boots up, is something in the DOM, and then redirect to a different route. I can talk to you about later if you want to know more about that. I can show you some code. But I think that's a better approach than having multiple apps. Yeah, a big part, performance. Everybody talks about performance in Ember, and if Ember is performant enough to use it in production, yes, it is. We didn't have many issues with performance. That's actually not really true. We had not many, but we only had one performance issue with Ember. And this was on the body weight page I showed you. We had a user that had managed to track 4,000 body weight entries in the past 3 years. I don't know how, but he did it. And that will never perform in any kind of JavaScript framework, because if you switch to the lifetime period, everything got stuck. The browser just it didn't crash, but it took about 2 minutes to load. And if you know about this, and I think long lists are the worst thing you can have for performance in this type of situations. You can work around this pretty easily. Just take list view, Ember list view, which didn't work for us in this setting because we had to support variable row heights that are not working with Ember list view. I tried to patch it. I tried to patch it in, but it's really hard, and I didn't manage. I didn't manage to do it. We then took the infinite scrolling approach, where you calculate all the stuff for the 4,000 entries. Calculating the stuff in JavaScript isn't actually that bad. Just the rendering part is taking a really long time. So you don't have to change your controllers or anything. Just write an infinite scrolling component that renders gradually something like 25 entries, 50 entries, as much entries as the user will get in an infinite scrolling box, and you'll be fine. I tried to patch Ember list view for about a week, and it was pretty buggy after patching it. And the infinite scrolling component took about 15 minutes. So just take the infinite scrolling approach until HTML buzzes out. There are also the unbound and the group helpers. And last but not least, you should always use array and reduce computed properties, because they work on an item-on-item basis, and you won't have performance issues if you do. We didn't have performance issues with our array calculations, but they're much faster if you use array and reduce computed. There's also Ember Parallel, which uses web workers for calculating, and I didn't look into that, but there's a talk on the Ember London Meetup page. You can have a look at that. Yeah, another topic I want to talk about are flagged features, the flagged features in the Canary builds. We are using 2 features in the Canary, flagged features in the Canary branch, the loading states, which are now in the latest beta versions, I guess, or stable versions, I don't know. But we're not on the latest version. And the reason why we're not on the latest version is because we're using the query params feature flagged, the feature flagged query params of Alex Beller, and we're locked on them right now because we don't have the time to rewrite our query param stuff in our app. Which is pretty bad, but we didn't, and we will take the time in the next weeks. We will take the time to rewrite them, to rewrite the stuff. But it really sucks if you're locked into. Sorry.
Maybe take some time until you rewrite, because I was using the Alex Beller version, then it got patched into the
Yeah.
like officially, and then Mahdi took over
Yeah.
the API, and still not that stable when you want to use it.
Yeah, we will take some time to work with them if they are stable, but we won't take the canary route again. Also really consider carefully if you really need this stuff. If you do, you can't do anything about it and use the stuff from the Ember core team, but really think carefully about what you're doing and prepare to rewrite the stuff which is flagged because it's not that stable as the rest of Ember. And it will get ugly if you don't write tests, but that's not a problem because everybody's writing tests, right? And enough of them, of course. It might get ugly if you're not testing your code, so you should test your code. The next thing, Ember Data. We are using Ember since the Ember Data since the beginning. We didn't have many issues with it. In my opinion, it's all good. And you can always go back to normal Ajax if something's not working and you don't have time to read the source code of Ember Data to get it working. We took this approach in one case. We wrote our own promise wrapper around the Ajax stuff from jQuery. There's now IC Ajax. You could use that, of course, and you have to use something that's promise based like Ember expects it because else you'll be in trouble. But everything's fine with IC Ajax, I guess. The source of Ember Data is pretty readable, so you can extend the stuff pretty nicely. And if you need something special, it's also pretty good documented right now. And I think it's a future-proof approach because it's backed by the core team, and that's the way to go, I guess. Other learnings. If new members are joining your team and they don't know Ember, just pair program with them. We at Runtastic pair program a lot, even if the members are not new. It's really a nice way if somebody doesn't know Ember that good, or you can even pair. You can even take two people that don't know Ember that good, and they should pair. You will get better solutions with pairing, and if you're an expert in Ember and you have somebody that's not an expert, he will get up to speed much quicker. So pair program. And as I said, new features should always be written in Ember. If you're doing a complex client-side application, it doesn't make any sense if you develop some features with Ember and some not with Ember. If you know it will be complex, and even not the very complex features, just use Ember. It doesn't hit your page load time that much that you should sacrifice the productivity you get from using it. And as I said, you can always use the components approach for the widgety stuff. And of course, if you're using Ember, it's much easier to refactor and build new features on top of your existing code, as it would be if you developed some features with progressive enhancement and some with Ember. Yeah, and Ember's the shiznit for Relio. We really feel that way. We love Ember at Runtastic, and we have no regrets using it, and yeah. It's a great framework. We really like it. If you have any questions, I'm here. And yeah, we're hiring, and that's really serious. We are really searching for good Ember devs. Even if you're not that experienced, we're really looking for people that know Ember. If you're interested, just talk to me. And Level was Mike. That's my Twitter handle if you want to follow me on Twitter. Thanks a lot. Any questions? Yeah.
You mentioned all the mobile apps, and I think you have lots of mobile apps.
Yeah.
Would that be an option for you to use Ember to build the mobile apps, or?
No, because no, we had never considered using. Actually, we did at some point consider, I guess, but it's what's before my time. I just heard about it. To use this HTML approach, we didn't take that route, and I don't think that's. I'm not a mobile lead, but there was never any consideration to do that because we really need the native features, and yeah, but we will take the mobile-first approach in everything we do on the web. That's for all the upcoming stuff in the web. But the website is not meant to rival the App Store apps. It's just it's the dashboard for where all your stuff you're doing with the apps gets aggregated.
Sure.
Anyone else? Okay, thanks.